You know, we've all seen it happen. There's this brilliant idea, a fantastic product, a service that could literally change the game, and then it just fizzles out. It's kind of crazy how many amazing concepts never actually become successful businesses. So, what's the real difference? What separates an idea that stays on a napkin from one that builds an entire empire? Well, it all comes down to one word: execution. Let's just sit with this for a second, because this quote really hits the nail on the head. It's not about having some flawless 100-page document that you never look at. It's about having a solid, workable plan that you can actually put into motion. The real magic happens when that blueprint finally leaves the architect's table and the construction crew starts to build. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you take a vision and turn it into something real, something that lasts? In this explainer, we're going to walk through that whole process together, from sketching out the initial plans to making sure the final structure is solid enough to stand the test of time. Right. So every single successful project, without exception, starts with a clear and solid blueprint. In the world of business, this means you have to know exactly what you want to build and what the surrounding landscape looks like before you even think about breaking ground. The very first step is taking that big, grand vision of yours and making it concrete. That's what strategic objectives are all about. They're not just vague dreams. They are specific, measurable targets. Think of them as the yardsticks you'll use to check your progress every step of the way. Creating this blueprint is basically a three-step dance. First, you do some environmental scanning. That just means looking outside. Are there new competitors on the horizon? Are your customers' tastes changing? Then you do an organizational analysis, which is all about looking inside. What are we uniquely good at? Where are our weak spots? And finally, you put it all together to formulate your strategy, choosing the best path forward based on everything you've just learned. Okay, so you've got the blueprint in hand. Now it's time to think about the building itself. How is this whole thing going to be organized? See, the structure of your company is the framework that holds everything together, and it absolutely has to change and evolve as you grow. In the very beginning, things are usually pretty straightforward. A simple structure is perfect for a small, nimble team that needs to make decisions fast. The owner is involved in pretty much everything, which means you can pivot on a dime. Just picture that classic garage startup. But as you start to grow, you need more specialization. You can't have everyone doing everything anymore. That's where the functional structure comes in. You start creating departments, a marketing team, a finance team, an operations team. This is great for building expertise and efficiency, but you do have to be careful that people don't get stuck in their own little silos. Now, once a company gets even bigger, maybe it's offering a bunch of different products or serving different countries, a divisional structure starts to make a lot more sense. Each division almost acts like its own little mini company, which creates really clear accountability for its own performance. So how do these massive global corporations manage all this complexity? Well, they often use what's called a strategic business unit, or SBU structure. Think about a company like Sony. They'll group related divisions, like all their consumer electronics or their entire entertainment arm, into these SBUs. This lets the main headquarters focus on the big picture strategy, while each SBU is responsible for its own profits and growth. So here's the bottom line. There is no single best structure. It just doesn't exist. Each one comes with its own trade-offs. The functional structure? Super efficient, but you risk creating those silos. The divisional structure? Great for accountability, but it can get expensive. And the SBU structure? It simplifies corporate control, sure, but it also adds another whole layer of management. The real key is picking the right structure for your company's specific stage and strategy. All right, you've got your blueprint and you've picked a structure. Now you have to make sure that everything, and I mean everything, is actually working together. It's time for a full alignment check. A fantastic tool for this is the McKinsey 7S model. You can think of it like a master checklist for your entire organization. It shows how 7 key elements, from your strategy all the way to your team's skills, are all interconnected. If even one of them is out of sync, it can throw the whole system off balance. The model breaks things down into what it calls hard and soft elements. The hard elements, your strategy, your structure, your systems, those are the tangible things you can easily draw on a chart. But the soft elements, shared values, leadership style, staff and skills, well, that's the human side of the company. And real lasting success depends on all 7 of these working together in perfect harmony. And that brings us to one of the most powerful but so often overlooked soft elements, your company's culture. I mean, you can have the best blueprint in the world and the strongest steel frame, but if the vibe on the construction site is toxic, that project is absolutely doomed.
I mean, this says it all, right? Your company's culture isn't just some fluffy, nice-to-have thing. It is a powerful force that will either push your strategy forward at lightning speed or bring it to a grinding halt. It's that invisible hand that guides how people act when nobody's watching.
So who's the one making sure the blueprint is followed, the structure is sound, and the culture is positive? Well, that's the job of leadership. They're the foreman of the crew, responsible for guiding everyone through all the inevitable challenges and changes that will come up. And leaders have different toolkits for different situations. Transformational leaders are amazing at inspiring people with a grand vision. They're perfect for times of big change. Transactional leaders, on the other hand, are masters of systems and processes, which is ideal for keeping things stable and efficient. The truth is, most great organizations need a healthy mix of both. Now, when it comes to managing a really big change, Kurt Lewin's three-step model is a classic for a reason. First, you have to unfreeze the old way of doing things. Then, you introduce the change itself. And finally, and this is the part that people so often forget, you have to refreeze those new habits so they become the new normal way of doing things. So we've gone all the way from a simple blueprint to a fully functioning building. But what does a successful building even look like today? Because that definition is changing. It's no longer just about the financial bottom line. This idea of the triple bottom line shows that modern, truly strategic success also considers a company's impact on people and on the planet, right alongside its profits. And that brings us right back to where we started: execution. The most brilliant strategy on Earth is completely worthless if it's not implemented well. So as we wrap up here, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. When you look at your own blueprint, what's the one part of your strategy, the one piece of your building process that needs the most attention right now?